Hello YouTube, I'm Douglas, and today I want to take you through how I added a kinematic character controller to my Voxel game engine. I feel like character controllers aren't really something you think about as a gamer. I mean, you press W and your character moves forward until it collides with a wall. Maybe you press A and your character starts shifting to the left. How hard could that possibly be to code? Let me tell you a secret, it's never as easy as you think it's going to be. Not only does the character need to move horizontally, but in many games, characters need to also step up stairs and also then step down curbs. They need to slide against walls and slide up slopes. And this is doubly complicated in a voxel game, because in voxel games you don't always have slopes. You have these jagged little lines of cubes. You don't want your 20 voxel tall character to immediately stop if they encounter a 1 voxel bump in the road as they're walking along. That would be super annoying. So to solve this, what I ended up having to do was build a feature like Minecraft's auto jump, but on steroids. Before we talk about that, I have a really quick announcement to make. I've been looking for ways to put more time into this game dev project, but for that I need your support. To that end, I've started a Patreon page. The Patreon page is going to have some interesting perks. Notably, I will be posting demo builds of the engine, so if you like what you see in these videos and you want to test out some of the features that I'm posting about yourself, you can do that on the Patreon. I'll also be putting up some exclusive screenshots and videos there so that you can better follow along with my development. If that's of interest to you and you want to help support my channel, please do check out the Patreon. It would mean the world to me. Now, back to character controllers. There are actually two kinds of character controller, rigid body and kinematic. Rigid body character controllers move the player by applying forces to the player's body, so the character is a real physics object, and this is suitable for games like, for example, Rocket League, where precise movement of the character is part of the challenge of the game. But most games don't use this. It is hard to bake in custom motion that doesn't naturally come from Newtonian dynamics, like stepping up stairs. That's where kinematic controllers come into play. Kinematic controllers aren't simulated like other physics objects. Instead, you write custom game-specific code to move them each frame, and typically, this code uses collision queries to figure out what the character is currently touching and then which directions they can move and how far. I chose to implement a kinematic controller in my engine to start, one because it allows for a wider range of motion and emulating games like Quake or Minecraft, and two because my game uses a client-server model and the whole rigid body simulation only runs on the server. But for responsive character movement, the character controller really needs to run on the client. So by having a kinematic controller that only relies on collision queries, I can run that on the client, which is a much simpler architecture. I began by creating a prototype. I gave the player a hitbox and then used that hitbox to call my collision detector, which gives me a list of contacts between the player and other objects. The important part of each contact is the normal vector. You can think of each contact as a plane. We want the character to move away from these planes because otherwise it will start phasing through walls and that kind of thing. Now at the same time, the character has a desired velocity. This is the direction they would move if there was nothing in the way. And what we need to do is clip this velocity so that it is either tangent to or facing away from all of those planes from earlier. And so this in of itself is an interesting quadratic programming problem, but suffice it to say that with a couple of for loops, we can figure out what velocity is closest to the original and satisfies all of these linear constraints. Then we sweep the character's hitbox along that constrained velocity, or in the case of voxels, take little, just under 1 voxel steps, until the character hits something new, and then we just clip the velocity again and repeat the process until the entire time step is simulated. And that gives us basic air movement, But now we're bumping into the problem of stairs. Literally. I'm holding down the W key right now and it feels like I should be able to move forward, but the character is stuck on this tiny little 1 voxel ledge. Somehow the engine needs to know that it should move the character both up and forward without taking any velocity away. And to figure out how to do this, I actually went and looked at the source code for Quake, because it's an old but very battle-tested and simple to understand character controller. What Quake does is it explores multiple options for the character's forward motion. It does the slide until obstacle thing that I talked about before, but it also tries moving the character up by a configurable amount called the step height, then across in the same fashion as before, and then back down. If the character lands on solid ground at the end of that sequence, and they went farther than they otherwise would have, Quake uses that result instead. The only issue with this is if you have to step into a door that's not elevated by the full step height, the character controller will go too high, overshoot, and then hit its head on the door frame, and so the auto-stepping won't work. I can't control the heights of geometry that users build in my engine, so what I did was adapted the Quake algorithm by making 2 modifications. One was to try not just the full step height, but multiple step paths at increments of 1 voxel. So I would try moving up 1 voxel and then across and then back down, and then 2 voxel and across. And I also chose to terminate the algorithm as soon as I had a workable result that preserved the full velocity, rather than waiting to see which step would travel the farthest. And that was something that helped me cut down on the number of collision detection queries I needed to do. The ability to step down stairs and slopes comes for free with this too. At the end of every possible character motion, including the one where the character doesn't step at all, I still have the algorithm try to move the character down by a full step height. This keeps the character's feet firmly planted on the ground as long as there's something below them. From there, I made a few small tweaks to the character's acceleration. I made it so that the character would bounce and slide based upon the materials of the voxels beneath it. And this was easy because it's pretty much the same code that the rigid body system already uses for friction and restitution. I was pretty excited about what I had, so I wired it up to my character with a first-person camera and instantly realized that I had to do something. You see, this movement looks fine in third person, but with a first-person camera it feels super bumpy as the character teleports from the bottom to the top of every single individual voxel. When I tried playing this, I became nauseous immediately. The good news is that there's a simple fix. We can smooth the camera's vertical position over time by treating it like a damped spring. Whenever the camera is too low or too high, we apply an acceleration to it as well as some drag. And the way I've set things up is that the drag coefficient always induces critical damping, so the camera never overshoots. It just smoothly goes to its target position with an exponential roll-off. And with that, going up and down slopes feels quite natural. Now there's one other thing that I want to talk about, which is the design of the character controller from a software architecture perspective. I had this initial prototype, which was sort of quick and dirty, but I'm ultimately building a game engine, and so I wanted a character controller that other people could take and use and extend. I actually spent a couple days afterward polishing up the prototype and turning it into a clean API. And there are a lot of non-trivial design choices to make here, like whether to use classes or inheritance or interfaces. Ultimately, I ended up going with a more functional approach, and I'm really proud of how it turned out. So we'll do a brief code walk here. The heart of the implementation is this character mover struct. This is an immutable value type, and the idea is you construct one character mover every frame, and you pass it the current state of the world and the state of the character from the last frame, so the position and the velocity. Then character mover exposes a bunch of public helper methods that allow you to modify the character's state in various ways. So there's a function to apply friction, a function to apply restitution, a function to sweep the character until you hit something, and built off of that is a function to do one step in that stepping algorithm. Taking a closer look at the friction routine, it calculates the coefficient of friction beneath the player, and then returns a copy of the character mover with the velocity appropriately reduced. This is a more general pattern that all the helper methods have. They all return a copy. Nothing is ever mutated. This makes it much easier to reason about the flow of data, and it's also simple to implement algorithms like the one that explores multiple step paths. These methods then get fluently chained together to run the character movement for the entire frame. Downstream users also have the ability to add more functionality through C#'s extension methods feature. Altogether, I'm very satisfied with how the character controller came out. I should also mention that everything I talked about in this video was implemented using only the public C# API that my engine provides. So a downstream end user could have made this entire character controller themselves. And I view that as a real triumph, early validation that the architecture I've chosen is working, and that people will be able to make real games with it one day. If you enjoyed this video and want to see that become a reality, then please leave a like, subscribe, drop a comment, and don't forget to check out the Patreon, which is also linked in the description. Thanks for watching, and have a lovely day.